All right, everybody, what's going on? Welcome to another episode of the Take Podcast. I am your host, Jackson Burleson, and in today's episode, we're going to be talking about this wild week of college football that just got wrapped up. But before we get into this episode, make sure to hit that subscribe button and like this video and share it with your friends so everyone can hear what I have to say about sports. And also follow me on my social medias. They're going to be popping up right here, so make sure to go follow them. They will be in the description so you do not miss out on any more episodes. And also the audio-only version will be available on Spotify. So the link in the description will be there, so make sure to click that link to listen to the audio-only version. And hit the notification bell when you go and follow me on Spotify so you get alerted when you see me post new pods. And same thing with YouTube. Hit the notification bell so you get an alert when I post a new video. But let's go ahead and get into this pod. So much things happened this weekend in college football, but I want to start out with my take of the day, and I want to go through the top 4 teams that should be on the college football rankings. This is my personal college football rankings that should be. This is my prediction. First of all, we obviously know Georgia's going to be number 1. We're going to talk about them a little bit later, but I just want to say their defense is incredible. They put on the best defensive performance I've ever seen in my life against Tennessee. That's all I'm going to say about that because we'll talk about the Tennessee and Georgia game a little later in this pod. But at number 2, I got Michigan. Now, Michigan, they're a good football team, and this is the first time I can confidently say that they have a man at quarterback that can get them to the national championship. J.J. McCarthy, he has insane accuracy. He has power throwing the football. He's good outside the pocket. He's just a very, very well-sound quarterback. In the last game against Rutgers, where they absolutely dominated, 55-17 victory, he threw 13 for 27 passing, 151 yards, and 2 touchdowns. That's a pretty solid performance if you ask me, but Michigan had 2 guys with 100 yards rushing, which is pretty impressive if you ask me. And this running back is just super fast. He is insanely fast. He gets down the field quick. He does it all. He really does it all. I mean, you've got 2 very explosive backs who are good on the edge, and then that opens up the play-action game, which you saw against the Rutgers. That did open up, and that opened up a lot of explosive plays. And they didn't have the greatest start to the game. They were losing 14-17 at halftime, but they came out of the gate, shut out the Rutgers in the second half, and scored 38 second-half points. So this Michigan team is legit. This team is definitely better than last year's Michigan team that got blown out by Georgia in the playoff. But, yeah, Michigan is legit. And you guys know, Jim Harbaugh, he's a phenomenal coach. I don't like the guy, to be real with you, but you can't say he's a bad football coach. He knows exactly what he's doing, and he's got this Michigan Wolverines team moving. And they have 2 matchups that are pretty easy, but then they play Ohio State, which is going to be a game for a college football spot, in my opinion. That's going to be a spot for a playoff. The next team I got is going to be number 3 TCU. They should be number 3 in the country. They're undefeated. And by the way, all these teams that I'm talking about in this college football ranking, they are all undefeated. They have not lost a game. So TCU, they're 9-0. They've been explosive. They've been very good this season. They beat Texas Tech 34-24. Max Duggan, he was 12 for 23, 195 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He has been phenomenal this season. He has been insane. He had 5 touchdowns in 1 game this year, rushing the football and passing the football. It was earlier in the season. He has been phenomenal. And then this running game with Keandre Miller, he had 26 carries, 158 yards, and 2 touchdowns last game. That is incredible, and he showed elite speed. He was very explosive, getting past the defense with ease, and he was super elusive and very hard to tackle. And then they started the game off against Texas Tech with a kick return touchdown. This team is good. do not sleep on TCU. TCU is a very good offense, but one thing I'm kind of worried about is their defense and their offensive line, because their quarterback, Duggan, he got sacked 4 times against Texas Tech, which cannot happen in the college football playoff, because you need to be able to extend plays and not take sacks, especially on third down. Third down sacks are the worst kind of sacks to take. Just my personal opinion. And it's a fact. They are. If you're 3rd and 10 and you get sacked, that's 4th down. You get off the field. But if you take a 2nd down sack or a 1st down sack, that's okay. I mean, Joe Burrow said it best. It's not bad to take sacks on 1st and 2nd down. But 3rd down sacks, you don't want to take those. You just want to try to extend the play as much as you can because it's 3rd down. But this TCU defense, I'm just a little worried about, because Texas Tech was kind of exposing them a little bit. They were getting some explosive plays on them, and their secondary wasn't able to really hold up as much as they should have. But this offense is super run heavy. TCU ran 51 times and only passed the ball 23. That's how you know that this team relies heavily on the run, and they've been doing that consistently, especially their quarterback. Their quarterback runs a lot. And Keandre Miller, he has 1,000 yards rushing this year. So you already know he's going to be running the football a lot every game. He's going to be getting his 20 to 25 carries per game. But this TCU defense, it's not as great as I would like it to be. They give up 146 yards a game, which rushing the ball, which is not great. I mean, it could be better. They're kind of in the middle of the pack when it comes to everyone else in the nation. But this TCU defense, they're definitely going to have to improve if they want to have a legit chance to beat some of these teams in the college football playoff, especially winning their conference in the Big 12, because the Big 12 is still a pretty tough conference. There's still a couple of good teams, like Kansas State's still a very good team. Texas is still a very good team. So there's still a lot of good teams in the Big 12 that can make some noise, but TCU is definitely the best. And I got them at number 3 on my prediction for the college football rankings. And then at number 4. Now, I was very hesitant to put Ohio State at number 4 because they played god-awful against Northwestern, a team who has won 1 game all season. 1 game. And their defense looked abysmal. They were giving up very big plays on defense. And then C.J. Stroud, he did not look great passing the football on Saturday. He was 10 for 26 passing the ball and only threw for 76 yards. Are you actually kidding me, C.J. Stroud? You were supposed to be the number 1 pick in this draft. And you're telling me you throw 10 for 26 and you rush for 79 yards, 3 more yards than you pass for? I would have never thought that would have happened. And I kind of expected them to have a hard time with Northwestern because, first of all, Northwestern is a very bad team, and they're going to take them lightly, which they did. I mean, they only won by 14 points, but they didn't score. It was 7-7 at halftime, you guys. 7-7. How are you going to let it be 7-7 at halftime? I don't understand that. But this Ohio State team really struggled, but they did do good running the football. Mayan Williams had 26 carries, 111 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He's a phenomenal running back. They keep doing it. They don't really play anybody towards the end of the year besides Michigan. That is going to be a massive, massive game. You guys, I don't think you guys understand how important that game is to the college football playoff, because those 2 teams are undefeated, and it's at the end of the season. So those 2 teams are going to be fighting it out. That's going to be a dogfight. That game is going to be an absolute dogfight. But what Ohio State needs to do moving forward, they need to clean things up. They need to be on top of their offense. They need to be more clean on defense, not allowing explosive plays as much. And then on offense, they need to get their passing game going a little bit more. They couldn't get a rhythm going at all. I mean, C.J. Stroud, he started the game 0 for 6 passing. I mean, that's not great at all. So for C.J. Stroud and this offense to really continue to move forward and to continue to get better, they need to start hitting the receivers early in stride, and they need to get this passing game going early, because C.J. Stroud's a heck of a quarterback. He's got a heck of a spiral. He's super accurate. He can throw the deep ball. I mean, I still think he's the number 1 pick after this game. He still has a lot more to prove, but, I mean, it's 1 game. It's Northwestern. They'll be okay. If they lost this game, that would have been a big problem, but I was really tempted to put Tennessee at 4, but I decided to put Ohio State there because they're undefeated. But that is my college football rankings. Georgia, Michigan, and then you got TCU and Ohio State. Boom. Let's go ahead and start out by, first of all, talking about Georgia versus Tennessee. First of all, what a game. I mean, I really wanted it to be a better game because it kind of sucked. Like, Tennessee wasn't playing as well. And for Tennessee, averaging 49 points per game and 529 yards per game, best offense in college football, they were absolutely shut down. They had no rhythm. They looked so flustered. This Georgia defense was game planned so well for this offense. They were disguising so many blitzes. They would start out the count, like Tennessee would go into a no huddle offense. They would get into it right away. Georgia would have 2 linebackers kind of sitting up on the top, and then Georgia last minute would drop them down like they're going to blitz. That was a great job by Kirby Smart disguising the blitz because those guys were going to drop back into coverage anyways, but then that kind of panicked the offensive linemen, and that's why they had 8 pre-snap penalties, Tennessee did, against Georgia, which is god-awful. The penalties they had were just self-inflicting wounds, and Tennessee, they lost this game for themselves. I mean, Georgia's defense, yes, they were all over the receivers. Hendon Hooker had nowhere to go with the football, but this Georgia defense, you got to give them credit. Even though this Tennessee offense could have played way better, and they were running the football way too much, in my opinion. I've never seen Tennessee run the football this much. They were not passing the ball that much, and Hendon Hooker was overthrowing his receivers about 2-3 yards every single time. So it's kind of frustrating to see that, in my opinion, because they've been doing that all season, especially with Alabama. I mean, Hyatt had literally 4 touchdowns, and he was banged up as well. He stepped on a ref's ankle at the beginning of the game, which, first of all, this is something I want to get off my chest about referees. Get out of the way. Get out of the way, man. We don't need refs in the way. I've just, too many times I've seen a ref in the middle of the field and you got a receiver doing a slant route and then he runs into him. Get out of the way, man. You were not a part of the play. Just get out of here. Get on the sideline. Do not be in the field. I do not think referees should be on the field. Now, I understand one referee being on there. That makes sense because you got to be able to see certain things from behind and from the back. But if you're going to have a referee, 2 referees on the field, you got to have them way behind the offensive line and way in front on the offensive line. You got to have the refs behind the safeties. That's how far, because they can see everything from there. You just have to be able to do that because it creates too many injuries. I mean, Hyatt literally had a nasty ankle sprain. I mean, he turned that thing pretty good. He stepped on the ref's foot. The ref was out of bounds. Get out of the way, man. You're going to prevent injuries. That's all that's going to happen. It's just not good for the game. But Tennessee, I mean, they just couldn't seem to get a rhythm at all. Now, they started the game great. They forced Georgia to fumble the ball on the first drive. They had a 6-play drive going, and then they fumbled it, which was good because I thought Tennessee was like, oh, this is a really good start for Tennessee. They come down, kick a field goal. Not a bad start, up 3-0. And then Georgia comes down, scores a touchdown, and then they score 2 touchdowns after that. And Stetson Bennett, man, he looked so poised. He was calm as can be. He was making audibles, reading the defense, going through his progressions, staying in the pocket. This Georgia offensive line did a fantastic job protecting him. As for Tennessee, their offensive line did not do a good job at all because Georgia was bringing the heat. They were blitzing them every time. It seemed like at the end of the game, Hendon Hooker only had like 1 second to throw the football. Literally, you count 1 Mississippi, and then boom, that pass rush is literally on Hooker's butt. I mean, it's literally insane what this Georgia defense did. But Georgia looked impressive. Their running game looked good. Their passing game, they were making a lot of deep balls. And then, first of all, these 2 tight ends, this Tennessee defense could not contain that at all. DeJuan Washington and Brock Bowers. First of all, Brock Bowers is a phenomenal player. He's the best player in the country in my eyes. He's just such a good tight end. He can do so many different things. He's literally a receiver. He has so much speed, and for 6'4", 250 pounds, I mean, just a massive human being, first of all. And he's just running routes like he's a 5'10", 190-pound receiver. I mean, it's honestly incredible to watch. And then he's running the football as well. They're giving him a jet sweep. They're letting him do a lot of different things, and he's super versatile. And then you got DeJuan Washington. He's 6'7", 270 pounds. I've never seen a tight end look so big on TV. When I was watching this game, I was like, holy crap, this dude is massive. He is massive. No one, you couldn't cover him. This Georgia offense, they have those two tight ends out there all the time. And both of those guys are very good in run blocking, so that makes their run game so much better. And then when you go into play action, you just have those guys run a route. Those corners can't cover them. They're too big for the cornerbacks. They really are. And especially DeJuan Washington, he is too big for some linebackers in college football. So it's going to be very hard to contain him, and it was very hard to contain him. And I knew it. I literally wrote an article about this game, and I said, Georgia's tight ends are going to be a huge factor, and Georgia's defense is going to be a huge factor. Georgia's defense came into this game only allowing 10 points per game. Best defense in the country. They really showed out. This Georgia team is legit, and I can't believe Tennessee was ranked number 1. This committee is out of their mind to put Tennessee over Georgia because Georgia showed no reason to put them lower than number 1. They were undefeated. They were blowing teams out. They were holding teams to literally 10 points a game. Come on. This Georgia team is going to run it back. They're going to win the national championship. I don't see any team beating them besides Michigan. Maybe Michigan. Maybe. But that was a dominant performance by Georgia on both sides of the football. And then another upset. Alabama losing to LSU in overtime, 32-31. Now, first of all, let's just say this. Alabama, I mean, they've had their struggles this year. They lost to Tennessee when they really shouldn't have. They were down 14 points in that game. But Bryce Young, he's a phenomenal quarterback. Let's just say this. He could be the number 1 pick. For him to sit in the pocket, break 3 tackles, and still go outside and throw a touchdown pass, it's phenomenal what this guy does in the pocket. I mean, he reminds me a lot of what Russell Wilson used to do in Seattle. He's just so elusive and so hard to tackle, and he's got an arm. And Bryce Young, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the country, and he showed it against LSU, but he could have played a little bit better. He had that one interception in the red zone where he was trying to step up a little bit, and he threw it a little bit behind the receiver, which happens. I mean, not everyone's going to be perfect, but that was a huge play, and if Alabama gets that touchdown, they win that game. They win that game. But he just keeps extending plays. Bryce Young just always keeps extending plays, and regardless of what's going on, he's always keeping his eyes downfield, which is why this guy is ready for the next level, and his game will translate so well. But Jaden Daniels for LSU, he was outstanding. No one could stop him running the football. He ran for 95 yards and a touchdown. That was a great performance. This Alabama defense could not stop him. He was running the football for 20, 30 yards, it seemed like, every time he ran the ball. Every time. And he was great throwing the football as well. But this LSU team is 7-2, and I don't know if they have a legit chance of making the playoffs because the committee is strict on 2-loss teams, but they definitely have the resume to get in. If a couple teams slip up, they definitely have the resume to get in. And Coach Kelly, Coach Brian Kelly, he has came in and really done a great job with this program. He's really done a great job with this program. I mean, they weren't ranked at the beginning. They weren't even ranked last week, and they blew out number 7 Ole Miss, 45-20. That was a phenomenal game. And then they go up to 10th immediately. The first time they're in the top 25, they are ranked 10th. What the heck? But Jaden Daniels was impressive. I mean, he was 22 for 32 passing, 182 yards, 2 touchdowns, and then I already said his rushing stats. He was great. And this LSU receiving corps, they were just super balanced. They had no one really go over 100 yards, but they had a lot of guys with 60 yards, 50 yards. It was just a good overall team win, and they played great defense on Alabama as well. They were getting to Bryce Young. They were making him uncomfortable. There's only so much you can do against Bryce Young, but he's the man. I mean, he's just unbelievable. But Alabama's run game was very, very good. Jahmyr Gibbs ran the ball very well. which opened up the play action. Alabama's play action is probably the most important thing to that offense because they just get the receivers going down and then they throw long touchdowns. That's how it works. I mean, you saw it a couple times in that game. But Bama was in the red zone 3 times before scoring a touchdown. So, and they settled for field goals. They kicked 3 field goals to start the game. So if they get those with touchdowns, this game is very, very, very different. So they need to get in the red zone and get touchdowns. That's one thing Alabama needs to focus on, is getting in the red zone and converting for 6. That's exactly what they need to do. But I think Alabama's playoff chances are over, but they still need to clean up some things on offense and defense. They're not as good. Their second loss comes their way, and LSU is a dangerous team. They are a dangerous team. I think LSU still has a chance at the playoff. Maybe Alabama does too, but they lost to Tennessee and this team, so we'll see. I don't know how LSU is going to do, but I don't know what Alabama is going to do from here either. So that was a very, very, very good game, and there's a lot of question marks with both of those teams if they can make it to the playoff. And then the last game I'm going to talk about here is Clemson. First of all, Clemson did this to themselves. They got blown out. They lost 35-14 against Notre Dame on the road. And first of all, Clemson didn't have a great start to this game. A blocked punt, and then Notre Dame goes in the end zone. That is not a good way to start this game at all. And the funny thing about this is quarterback Drew Pine for Notre Dame only had 85 yards passing. This defense had 3 touchdowns. This Notre Dame defense had 3 touchdowns. Understand that. They had a touchdown on a punt. They had a pick 6. I mean, what the heck? What the heck? Or excuse me, 2 touchdowns, sorry. I don't know why I said 3. But Notre Dame's defense won them this game. Their offense didn't do anything special. This Notre Dame defense had them in perfect field position the entire game. But this Clemson offense looked god-awful. I mean, both of their quarterbacks threw picks, and they threw in a backup quarterback. His name is Cade Kubanik, and his only pass, he had one pass, you guys, and it was an interception at the 10-yard line. He was throwing on his back foot, cross-body, in the end zone. What are you doing, man? And then, of course, Dabo Swinney benches him. I would, too. Don't keep that guy in the game. What is wrong with you? But DJ Agaboulier, I'm sorry if I'm really pronouncing his name wrong. That's a very difficult name to pronounce. But he threw a pick 6 at the 20-yard line. And in their own territory, and he took it and ran with it. Boom. I mean, what's going on here? But he played okay. I mean, he had 191 yards and a touchdown. He had a touchdown in garbage time, but this Clemson team was down 28-0 at one time. They were down 28-0. And they're number 4 in the country, and I think Clemson's playoff hopes are over. They don't play anybody at the end of the year. Nobody. Now let's see how they play towards the end of the year, because they still might have a little teensy-weensy chance. A tiny chance of winning. But I doubt it. I doubt they make the playoff. They did beat number 10 AC State, but that was their only really big win. But this Clemson team, they got a lot to look over. They really got a lot to look over. This offense couldn't get anything going. Notre Dame's defense was getting in their head, turning the ball over. If Clemson takes care of the football, this game's very different. But this Notre Dame team, their defense won them this game. Their offense did almost nothing. But Notre Dame did have 2 running backs with 100 yards rushing, so that was pretty good too. But their quarterback did nothing. I was looking at the stats and the score for the first time, and I didn't watch the game. I watched it afterwards when I looked at the stats, but before I watched the game, I was like, Notre Dame won this game? How? How did they win this game with their quarterback only passing for 85 yards? It didn't make sense. It didn't line up to me, but watching the game, you understood, okay, this Notre Dame defense was really giving Clemson problems. And Clemson was a borderline playoff team to begin with, so them losing this game hurts their chances very significantly. But that was a insane weekend of college football. I really wanted that Tennessee game to be a lot better. I was expecting more from them. I wouldn't be surprised if Tennessee's ranked 4. Let's just say that. I wouldn't be surprised. But this is going to go ahead and do it for today's episode of the Take Podcast. I hope you guys enjoy these episodes. I'm going to be dropping visual episodes along with the audio ones. This is the first time I'm doing the visual ones consistently because I finally got the right stuff to do it. But before I close this out, make sure to hit that subscribe button, like this video, and share it with your friends. And then go in the description, follow my social medias. I will pop them up once again. And then the audio only version, like I said, it's available on Spotify. You can listen to it. If you don't like the visuals, you can go ahead and go on Spotify and listen to that. Links are going to be in the description for those. But I thank you guys for tuning in, and thank you guys for the support. I really enjoy making these podcasts. And also check out the take.sport.blog. I posted an article about the Raiders and what's going on in Las Vegas. I don't know what's happening there, but thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Peace.